Within 48 hours, vast portions of Russia were plunged into darkness. On October 10th, Vladimir Putin made yet another critical misstep, and 500,000 Russians paid the cost. He ordered a large-scale bombardment of Ukraine's electrical network, convinced that cutting its power would break morale. But President Zelensky had already warned him, "If you strike our lights, yours will go out too." That warning was no bluff. Ukraine's retaliation came swiftly, surgically, and with chilling accuracy. By dawn, entire Russian cities flickered out as winter crept closer. Yet that was only the beginning. Drones launched from Ukraine pierced deep into Russian territory, nearly 1,000 miles inland, slamming into one of the Federation's biggest oil refineries, a facility once thought unreachable. Power grids collapsed, refineries burned, and millions watched as their nation sank into silence. This was not an accident. It was engineering, the triumph of precision over arrogance. Moscow called it terrorism. Kiev called it justice. The sequence began just after 2:15 a.m. in Kiev. The night sky erupted in flashes. Apartment towers trembled, elevators stalled mid-shaft, and hospitals switched to emergency generators. Firefighters navigated blacked-out avenues lit only by the crimson pulse of air raid sirens. Families huddled in candle-lit corridors, counting the seconds between distant detonations. Officials confirmed that Russia had fired hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles, an onslaught built not to win territory, but to instill fear. But fear breeds resolve. Ukraine's response was not panic, but calculation, a message carved in flame and silence. No corner of Russia would ever again be assumed safe. Within hours, Ukrainian intelligence, cyber units, and special operations teams executed a counterstrike prepared in secret for weeks. At 4:30 a.m., long-range drones slipped into Russian airspace. Their mission: cripple the lifelines fueling Russia's war, substations, oil depots, and refineries. Explosions rippled through Belgorod Oblast as transformers burst and cities went dark. Thousands were trapped in elevators or stood bewildered in streets illuminated only by burning power lines. State TV mumbled about technical faults, but the public knew better. This blackout had a flag on it. At dawn, the assault widened. A Ukrainian drone detonated inside a Donetsk munitions plant, igniting secondary blasts that burned for hours. Then came the most shocking report: an inferno at the Bashneft UNPZ refinery in Bashkortostan, more than 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine's frontier. One of Russia's largest fuel hubs lay crippled, choking the sky with black smoke. Pipelines feeding the military sputtered to a halt. Putin's plan to terrorize Ukraine into submission had detonated in his own hands. Every blackout in Kiev now had its mirror in Kursk or Belgorod. Every Ukrainian substation struck meant another Russian refinery aflame. Overnight, winter, once Moscow's favored weapon, became Ukraine's ally. In Belgorod, Kursk, and Bashkortostan, emergency sirens replaced propaganda. Hospitals leaned on backup power, gasoline prices soared, and whispers filled the dark. If Ukraine can do this now, what comes next? While Kremlin anchors faked smiles, the contrast between the two presidents crystallized. Putin threatened. Zelensky acted. Putin sowed fear. Zelensky delivered consequences. Ukraine's attacks weren't random vengeance. Each strike was deliberate, each target a node in Russia's overextended war machine. By morning, October 11th, black smoke still drifted over Ufa. Power lines in Belgorod hissed with short circuits, and Moscow's apartment blocks flickered nervously. The government ordered calm. Talk show hosts laughed off the news. But even laughter couldn't mask the truth. The war had come home. This was a new era where technology erased distance and resilience replaced fear. The once underdog nation was now setting the tempo of escalation. As night returned, the hum of generators rose. Not in Kyiv this time, but across Russian neighborhoods. By dawn, social media brimmed with eerie videos, streets swallowed by darkness, only a few emergency lamps glimmering. Grocery stores shuttered, gas pumps sputtered, and train stations fell silent. In Belgorod, workers navigated flooded tunnels with flashlights after pumps failed. In Kursk, residents queued for bottled water. In Ufa, firefighters still battled flames around the refinery ruins. Russians who had watched the war on TV now felt it breathing down their necks.
Censorship tightened instantly. Local journalists posting about the outages saw their stories vanish within minutes. The Energy Ministry repeated that all systems are stable, yet leaked reports showed chaos. Substations overloaded, repair teams stretched thin, regional leaders pleading for help. The Kremlin demanded silence, but silence couldn't hide the stench of scorched oil or the chill inside unheated apartments.
Kyiv, meanwhile, remained composed. No victory parades, no boasts, just watchful stillness. That restraint spoke louder than any speech. Analysts across the globe noticed Ukraine's reach had expanded far beyond Russia's expectations. These weren't symbolic pinpricks. They were systematic strikes aimed at dismantling the foundations of Moscow's war economy. Power grids near the border sputtered, depots ran low on diesel, and arms factories complained of delivery delays. Satellite imagery revealed long convoys of maintenance trucks outside damaged facilities, proof that Russia's logistics were fraying. Europe's reaction was firm but measured, unwavering support for Ukraine's right to self-defense, coupled with quiet recognition that Kyiv's precision had become its most effective deterrent.
Inside Russia, the political storm grew louder. Governors were interrogated about their lack of defenses. Energy executives were pressed for explanations. Security chiefs demanded to know how drones could cross hundreds of kilometers unseen. The Kremlin's answer was predictable: harsher censorship, tighter control, and promises of vengeance. Yet the conversation had already shifted from conquest to recovery. By October 12th, Moscow's defense ministry convened an emergency session. Satellite images confirmed the extent of damage: burned depots, shattered substations, the crippled Bashneft complex. Advisors proposed redeploying air defense systems from the front lines to guard Russia's heartland. But that left the army exposed in Ukraine, and that was precisely Kyiv's intention.
Ukraine's strategy wasn't annihilation, it was disruption. Every drone forced a calculation, every blackout delayed a convoy, every burning refinery slowed the machinery of occupation. Train timetables faltered, fuel shipments stalled, and logistics officers faced impossible choices. By October 13th, even as engineers struggled to restore electricity, new explosions echoed in the distance. Subtle reminders that normalcy was an illusion Ukraine could shatter at will. These drones weren't imported. Intelligence confirmed they were Ukrainian-built, showcasing a homegrown defense industry reborn under fire. Precision and autonomy defined this new phase of warfare, one where innovation outran intimidation. By October 14th, large portions of Western Russia still flickered between light and shadow. Oil markets trembled. Panic buying flared briefly before officials intervened. The Kremlin repeated its favorite script, labeling Ukraine's operations as terrorism. Kyiv countered with one word: consequences. On October 15th, Zelensky addressed parliament. His voice was calm but resolute.
We do not seek darkness for others. We seek light for our people. But those who bring fire to our homes will see that fire return.
Analysts called it the defining declaration of modern deterrence, a moral stance forged in resilience. By October 16th, Russian engineers had mostly restored the grid, but not the illusion of control. They patched wires, rerouted circuits, and restarted turbines, knowing each fix could vanish with the next drone flight. Lights glowed again across Moscow, fragile and temporary, haunted by uncertainty. The war had entered a different realm. no longer about territories conquered, but about systems controlled. Ukraine had proven that power in modern conflict isn't land captured, but will project it. As night fell on October 17th, Moscow's skyline glittered faintly under watchful eyes. Citizens stared upward, uneasy, aware that somewhere beyond the horizon, a silent drone might already be on its way. The invasion that sought to dominate Ukraine had instead turned inward, dimming the empire that started it. And from the quiet, darkened edges of Ukraine came a final truth. Power isn't what you possess. It's what you can take away.